everyone, and welcome back. I am working with this month's mixed media kit. I have started a little bit of the prep work just to, save a little bit of time. This canvas is in the kit this month, along with this mini cubist stencil from the Crafter's Workshop. This resin frame was also in the kit, or is also in the kit, I should say. And my prep work is just, I have used white sand texture paste. You get this lovely set of different pastes, the 3 Rest Effect pastes, some platinum crackle, this copper, granite, and white sand. And I have just used the white sand on my canvas board to start, just get some texture started to be built up. Also in the kit was some cheesecloth. Now I have rust stained my cheesecloth already because I wanted to. I was rust staining other fabrics in my stash and it got sucked into the fold. I am totally planning on either, I don't know if the rust staining on it will be completely noticeable on this project or not, but it is ready. It is ready. I'm just using black gesso. I have my frame over here already gessoed, and that gesso is drying. And I am just going to coat this background real quick also. Now that this black gesso is from the May 2022 mixed media kit. So from a previous Jolie kit, real handy there. Now I used the heavy gesso on my resin piece exclusively because resin and nice coating on it. But I already have this open jar. I have this open jar of regular weight gesso. It's not a heavy gesso. It was also from a previous kit. Oh, that was on the lid right there. August 19. Now, I haven't had this open since then, but it has been open for a while, and I do want to use it up. And I already, as you see, I had to water it down. It had gotten pretty thick in here. I have a love-hate relationship with black gesso. I love a dark base coat because I love grunge and steampunk, so I love the dark base coats of black gesso. But I also have my hate part of it is, as I swear it stays in your brush longer and harder than white gesso. Like when you go to rinse out your brush, I swear it takes 3 times as long to get the black gesso out of a brush than it does a white gesso. So my love-hate relationship with a black gesso. But on this on the canvas back, I don't think that I need the heavy gesso. I just really need to seal up all of those surfaces. Just give it a nice even coat. This background piece is gonna have the most greatest amount of mediums applied to it. So I don't think coverage will necessarily be a big issue on it. So mixing up my 2 gessos here, which I probably wouldn't have added any of the heavy gesso on it if I had remembered in a timely fashion about my open jar. I don't want my board sticking down. Not that that's ever happened. Of course not. Of course that's never happened. I'm just going to set it up like so then. So it's dry time. Once all of this is dry, then I will be coming back and building up my next layer. I decided I wanted to put on some of this cheesecloth. So I just cut off a little corner of it and just stretched it out some, making it raggedy. And then I am just going to use some matte gel to put it down with. Okay, I left off after adding this cheesecloth, and I probably would not have gessoed beforehand, but I honestly didn't think the cheesecloth was going to go on this soon. And it wasn't until I was just sitting here playing with the cheesecloth and I just happened to set it down where it kind of angled and it worked and I went with it. So that's where I am. So now I'm kind of rethinking on the fly, rethinking as I go here. Pulled out some mold pieces. They're a variety of materials. I use what I happen to be working with or if it needs to be used up. Anyhow, these were a terracotta colored air dry clay. This had some broken pieces in it, either broken when I pulled them out or they were all kind of loose in a drawer. So could have got broke there. And then I have some more over there. First things first. And that is, I'm definitely putting gears on the background. And for once, I'm going to do something rarely ever seen. And I'm actually going to find the center. Try to be as exact as possible on this. And I'm just going to use basically anything that will mark because it's going to get all covered up and it is not going to make any difference whatsoever. There's that mark and that mark. And then just to make sure that I can find it all the way through. There we go. That should work, right? It should work. I'm going to just start centering up some gears, a random assortment of gears, I should say. So that's my starting point. And these are actually kind of heavy, so it is going to be some 3D matte gel holding things in place because I need a bit more hefty holding power. So I am just going to get to work and add on random bits and pieces until I get what I think can work with, what I like. Some of my broken pieces are likely just going to be used kind of as supports. You could use cardboard, paper, foam, anything really, I guess, that would hold whatever you're doing. But since I have these weird broken pieces, I may just use them kind of as some filler. As a little bit of filler. I don't want to just throw them out if I don't have to. Broken gears are a thing in real life, so they may someday work their way somewhere else anyhow. Okay, so I know I had thought about adding more stenciling, but once I figured out that this cheesecloth went on here really kind of cool looking, I nixed that idea. So it's just going to be a first layer of the stenciling, my cheesecloth. And now I'm going to work up my layers until I think I am at an acceptable situation. Until I'm happy. I'm going to layer them until I'm happy. gonna try to work out what's in my head, get it put down on here. So I'm just going to start painting and I'll just make notes. So you'll have that as a reference. Honestly, I really have no clue. I am just gonna come in here real quick and use some of this copper and some of that graphite, I believe. Graphite. Yes, graphite. I always want to say granite, but it's graphite. So just a bit of the copper and the graphite pastes, not for the crackling from the copper. I'm not putting it on thick enough to create any crackles with that copper. I just wanted a little bit of the color added to my cheesecloth that I have coming out. I'm not really planning on using too much copper, and this will probably be the extent of its use here. And then I am just using the graphite to darken up some areas and just to add a bit of the texture from it on top of my gears. It's really all about layering the colors, and even though the actual color may or may not be seen, it's still going to have a bit of an effect on the rust effect pastes that will be getting added. So I'm just very, very lightly dabbing these two pastes on, and then I'll just let it dry. Alright, I have let everything dry completely because I did not want this, the platinum crackle paste to blend in, or for any of those colors to bleed together. And I am just going to use this silicone brush I have to spread it out and to dab on it, just to create some peaks on it and keep it from being overly smooth. I just use the flat edge on it to dab on top of it, just to help add a bit of unevenness and a little bit extra texture to the texture. I use a brush to get in closer to some areas. I'm keeping it mostly below the cheesecloth. I am just going to lightly blend it up into the cheesecloth. I want it to have kind of a strong, I want there to be a strong border, but not a complete straight line, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to do light blending up into the area that has that the dark pinkish paint that I had put on there, when I mixed the red paint with the glossy spray. And then I am going to let this crackle paste dry completely, air dry completely. Letting your crackle pastes air dry will create the best crackly effect, at least in my experience of all the different brands I've used. And then once I have allowed this to air dry and crackle completely, then I am going to come back and keep adding my layers. And the next layer's gonna be adding the 3 rust effect pastes. I have let the platinum crackle paste dry for about 24 hours now. I really wanted to make sure that it had dried completely. I wanted to give a little extra dry time to the layers underneath all of that 3D matte gel. because I figured this part would most likely be a very wet process. I anticipated the fact that I would probably be using a lot of water. I generally do when I use rust effect pastes. I always have in the past because I really like to blend them together a lot. I'm going to start with the brown rust effect paste. I'm not overly worried about it coming off the edges, and if I wanted to keep clean edges, I could have just done each piece individually and let it dry before adding it to the canvas board. But I also wanted to kind of make it look like everything had rusted together. So I will let some of this rust effect paste color kind of run out and seep out. After the brown is on, I'll dry it some, not a lot, because I do want to be able to blend my other pastes in with it, but I also don't want it to all just wash away. So there will just be a lot of me going back and forth and going through and adding water, drying a little bit, adding the red, adding the yellow, and just really playing around with the pastes until I get mostly I think what I'm looking for. And that's really all there's going to be to adding my rust, is just playing with the three colors. Okay. I think I am in the final lap here. I have this red wine metallic paint from my stash. This one is from my stash, but I absolutely love the deeper color of it than what my base wine color is, the mix I made. And I'm not really gonna go heavy with it, and I don't think I'm gonna go everywhere with it. I am just gonna add it to my heart, definitely to the heart. Maybe some here, and of course there will be water involved. Definitely will be water involved. I may have to make sure that I have enough water going on here. So that's where I am. I think this is almost my final layer of color. And since I am most likely going to be adding a little bit to the background. I'm actually thinking I'll start with the background first, because then I can spray it and move it around and not spray the heart. Is that all making sense? Don't mind the paint all the way up my brush. I used it just to stir a little bit, so yeah, kind of stuck it in that bottle a little far just to make sure I had a good mix. It had been a while since I had opened up that container. The final touches. I am just going to add on a bit of wax and these mechanicals gears here to start. I'm going to start with the wax. I have the Indian pink and vintage silk. The Indian pink is from my stash. The vintage silk, it was in the December 18 mixed media kit. So just going to spread it on. It don't need to be heavy, just a bit extra color, I guess, for some areas. And that is all there is to it. I am done. I am just going to let it sit and dry. The gears that I just added, the mechanicals, are not dry yet. Nowhere near being dry. But since it is flat, I can just move it out of my way now. So, I hope that this project gave you some ideas of what you can do with the different texture pastes in this month's mixed media kit, how you can use some cheesecloth, stacking things up. My frame is in here. It is now just completely part of that whole collage. See it peeking out of my heart there. But since the mixed media kit this month was really focused on texture pastes, I did try to use them in a variety of ways to give you some ideas of how to use them, or how they can be used, I should say, I guess. Even if they say crackle, if you put it on thin enough, you can just use it to add some color. Just the gritty texture, darkening things up. The gritty texture for the white sand was how this all kind of started. Platinum crackle, it's beautiful and shiny and has that hint of color to it. And then the 3 rust effect pastes to really age up your project. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you haven't already. Give us a thumbs up and feel free to share this video. Thank you, and I will see you again next week.